us bow our head in prayer. Almighty and eternal supreme being, the light of all lights, the creator of the universe, we give thanks and sing your praise alone, for you are guide and protector. Supreme being, please continue to bestow upon us your mercies and compassion, that we shall be pleased and be pleased with all in the city of San Fernando, that we shall glorify your name to the world through our living example. Almighty being, may your light shine upon this city and our country. Keep us away from all forms of darkness, and that we shall always acknowledge your greatness, for without your presence, nothing will be achieved. Amen.
Seats, please, members.
So, members of administration, ladies and gentlemen, may we pay attention to the safety briefing of Council Chamber at this time.
And gentlemen, to the San Fernando City Corporation Council Chamber. Please be advised that in the event of an emergency, an alarm would be raised. All persons are then required to exit orderly out of the chamber through the nearest marked exit or emergency door and assemble at the muster point at the bandstand Harris Promenade. There, a head count would be taken to ensure that everyone was accounted for and safe. Further instructions would then be issued by a member of the Protective Services or a health and safety representative. Thank you for your kind cooperation.
Members, this meeting is hereby called to order. Any corrections or omissions from the minutes of Wednesday, 30th of October, 2019? If not, can I get a motion, please, for confirmation?
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, I ask for the confirmation of the minutes of the 34th statutory meeting of the 10th San Fernando City Council held on Wednesday, the 30th of October, 2019.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, members of Administration, Springvale Paradise rises to second.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Matters arising, page 2. Page 3, CEO, I think with item number 5.3, letter correspondence should go out to Commissioner Gary Griffith and all the military contingents that participated in the military parade last Saturday. I think this is extremely commendable and well executed. Should it come from my office or your office? My office. Just have it noted, members, that we should send letters of commendation to all the units that participated in the military parade. I would also like to commend our municipal police and Mr. Wren for the performance. And I did observe that Mr. Wren struggled with getting his sword back into his case a little while there, but it happens to the best of us, Mr. Wren. Page 4. Five. 6. Page 7. Members, I'm looking at the last item there. It relates to the list of events that we had for city celebration. And I must commend Councillor Paris for his Panenville event once more. Also, we had a successful presentation from the Korean musical ensemble for our schools, and those of you who were here really saw something, and those who missed it, it was something very special. Councillor Wilson for the Miss Mature Elegance competition that should have been a bit late. Councillor Joseph for the Juve event. It was small, but it was effective and incident-free. The Mind Sports on last Sunday was also well attended. A lot of young persons participating and playing chess and drafts. The senior citizens event, a bit small as well, but we knew the nature of the event and the timing of it. Of course, again, the military parade was excellent. Our church service and award ceremony on Sunday was also well attended. And I must commend Father John for the way he conducted the service and tying the city of San Fernando celebration in the sermon. So the Catholics conveyed to the Catholics, also conveyed to the Catholic Church our regards for accommodating us and for the service on Sunday. And commendation also to Alderman Samuel for an excellent car show once more last Sunday. I think we had over 700 vehicles on display, and it was really special. Well done, Alderman Samuel. The city will miss you next year, sir. Hope you pass on some of the administrative skills of what's required, the template for us to follow up. But we also want to be bring in as a consultant next year. Our city day yesterday, I know Deputy had assisted in chairing an event yesterday. You want to give us an update, Deputy, and what your school children?
Your Worship, members of council, chief executive officer, members of administration, thank you, Your Worship, for the opportunity to talk about on the 31st anniversary of the city of San Fernando taking birth as a city. We were fortunate enough to put together a program for students in the primary schools throughout the city. And in that program, we had the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago come and do a presentation to these young people about the history of San Fernando, a pictorial representation where they had posters of all the key heritage sites within the city, as well as a conversation which you yourself contributed to largely because of the wealth of history that you have at your beck and call, with a very good memory. And entertained these young people, entertained, educated, and interacted with them to create that sense of preservation and patriotism and heritage for this wonderful city of ours, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy, and I can recall we ending the event with we were all singing God Bless Our Nation. Is it possible for Dr. Indar to get a seat a little higher up, because he's behind the camera and I'm seeing leading his side? Dr. Indar, you can come higher up. Yes, there's a seat availability, yes. Next to the former Councillor Lynch. Yes, very good, better position. So we move on to we have one more event for the celebration, which is on Saturday, 30th November, where we are collaborating with the Parang Association for a huge Parang festival at Library Corner, and we expect the public to come out and support this event. We on to page 8. Committee reports for acceptance. Announcements. No? Okay. Announcements.
Your Worship, CEO, members of Council, Manipur, Navid, rise for the following announcements. Ms. Hazel Yvette Curtin Lewis. Her date of birth was the 25th of October 1964. She died on the 14th of November 2019, and her interment was on Tuesday the 19th, today, at 12:30 p.m. She is the granddaughter of the former Mayor Curtin. The second announcement is for Mr. Damian Howe, formerly of Kitchener Street, Batu Avenue, Marabella. He died on Thursday, 14th November. His funeral was also held today at Guy's Funeral Home, and the interment at the Marabella Cemetery. The final announcement from me is just to start off by saying just over a month ago, this lady received a national award, and the president went to her home to give her that national award, that Medal of Merit, and that was Sister Phyllis Worf. She passed away yesterday morning in Tobago, where she had been receiving treatment. She was a former principal of St. Joseph Convent, San Fernando, and a member of the Clooney sisters at San Fernando here. She died on the 18th, as I said, 18th of November, and her funeral is to be announced. Those are what I have. I think you have one, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. And Hazel Curtin was a granddaughter of former Mayor Gertrude Curtin, a former deputy mayor, former alderman, a former mayor of the city of San Fernando, a long-serving member. Likewise, we had the passing of Mrs. Yvonne Mahabir, a former wife of a former member of parliament for San Fernando West for several years, and a wife of a former mayor of San Fernando. He served in San Fernando mayor from 1961 to 1966. One of our more effective and loved mayors of San Fernando, and long-serving member of parliament. Mrs. Mahabir would have been a stalwart and a rock of Gibraltar behind her husband during those most difficult years. As we all know, being the wife of any politician is not an easy task. So we need to all stand for a few minutes, a minute of 60 seconds of silence. May the souls of the faithful departed rest in peace and rise in glory of heaven, and may perpetual light shine over them. Amen. Papers and correspondence to be laid. Finance, planning and allocation resources.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, members of administration, Springvale Paradise, rises for the acceptance of the finance, planning and allocation of resources meeting held on the 1st of October, the 8th of October, and 15th of October 2019.
Seconder, please.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, beg to second.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Public health.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, Mr. CEO, members of administration, ladies and gentlemen. I, Alderman Johannes Dionerain, do rise for the acceptance of the public health report of meetings held on October 1st, 2019.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, Marabella South Visabella rise to second.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Physical infrastructure.
Good evening, Your Worship. Mr. CEO, members of council, members of administration, Marabella East rises for the acceptance of the physical infrastructure and transport report of meeting held on the 8th of October 2019.
Your Worship, CEO, members of council, Manipur Navet rise to second.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Personnel.
Your Worship, CEO, members of council, Manipur Navet rise for the adoption of the report, the acceptance, of the Personnel Committee report of the meeting held on the 8th of October 2019.
Your Worship, members of council, Chief Executive Officer, members of administration, Laissez for East Pero rises to second.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Committee reports for adoption. Planning and development.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, members of administration, I rise for the adoption of the planning and development report of meeting held on 8th October 2019.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, members of administration, Marabella East is pleased to second.
All in favor? Aye. Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Security and disaster.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, Koke Tuba rise for the adoption of the Security and Disaster meeting held on the 15th of October 2019.
Second, please.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, members of administration, I rise to second the same.
All in favor? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. General purposes.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, I beg for the adoption of the general purposes report meeting held on the 8th of October 2019.
Your Worship, members of Council, Chief Executive Officer, members of Administration, laissez-faire East Superior rises to second.
All in favour?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Arts and Culture.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, members of Administration, Springville Paradise rises for the adoption of the Arts and Culture meeting held on the 1st of October 2019.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, Koke-Tuba rise to second.
All in favour? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Parks and Institutions.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, Marabella South, Mr. Bella rise for adoption of the Parks and Institutional Report meeting held on the 8th of October 2019.
Second, please.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, members of Administration, laissez-faire West Lamrain rises to second.
All in favour? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Assessment.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, members of Administration, Springville Paradise rises for the adoption of the assessment meeting held on the 15th of October 2019.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of Council, Mr. CEO, members of Administration. I, Alderman Yohannes Dinarain, second.
All in favour? Any against? Any abstention? Motion is carried. Public Claims and Liabilities.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, members of Administration, laissez-faire West Lamrain rises for the adoption of the committee report held on the 15th of October 2019 for public claims and liability.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of Council, Mr. CEO, members of Administration. I, Alderman Yohannes.
All in favour? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Tourism.
Your Worship, members of Council, Mr. CEO, members of Admin, I, Alderman Shane Samlal, do rise for the adoption of the Tourism and Heritage Committee report of meeting held on the 1st of October 2019.
Could have had for the last time. Well, could I get a second, please?
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, members of Administration, I rise to second the same.
All in favour? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. Education and Youth Development Deputy.
Your Worship, members of Council, Chief Executive Officer, members of Administration, laissez-faire East Superior rises for the adoption of the Education and Youth Development Report of the meeting held on the 8th of October 2019.
Second.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council, I, Alderman Shane Samuel, do rise to second the motion.
You prove me wrong, Alderman. All in favour? Any against? Any abstention? The motion is carried. See any petitions?
Your Worship, members of Council, members of Admin, no petition today, Your Worship.
Any motions?
No motion today, Your Worship.
Any personal explanations?
None from Admin, Your Worship.
Any questions?
None today, Your Worship.
Members, any other urgent matters? No? Alderman, I must say that you have been here, and we certainly enjoyed your company, and we will miss you. Members, it's my duty at this point, as we wind up our last meeting, or last statutory meeting, or last meeting of this term, and to speak about our overview on our existence and our contribution. Over the past 3 years, this council has managed the city of San Fernando on the heels of a major local and international downturn. As San Fernando celebrates its 31st year as a city, this council has worked fastidiously to improve the physical infrastructure as well as the aesthetics of our city. While we have 2 major infrastructural projects that have engaged the interdiction by government agencies, namely the San Fernando waterfront, as well as the upgrade to Skinner Park, the San Fernando City Corporation has taken up the responsibility to focus our efforts on upgrading the veritable heart of our city, that is to say, the iconic library corner. A lot has been said about the Carnegie Library. However, the corner itself has lost its original luster. As I said before, Library Corner is our Times Square, our Trafalgar Square. It speaks to 5 points of traffic converging into the transportation heart of the city, a hub of economic activity, and thereby is deserving of a facelift. We have recently installed temporary decorative lights to coincide with the Christmas season. As we continue to improve the aesthetics, it is our intention to collaborate with the private sector, inclusive of NGOs, to further upgrade this location. We have created a space surrounding the library, primarily for legally controlled vending. Additionally, This area is now multi-purpose in its nature as a venue for entertainment, live performances, book launches, as well as a public debate platform. This was met with great success, not only from the public, but also vendors who are adhering to our strict health and safety laws from our public health department. From an infrastructural perspective, the increase in road traffic indicative to our national development has heavily impacted the levels of congestion on the roads in San Fernando. The relocation of taxis and the removal of the island outside of Royal Castle have increased road space and already yielded success in mitigating traffic congestion. Combined with the installation of railings to limit jaywalking, liming by school children on evenings, which has streamlined the flow of pedestrian traffic in a narrow space and assisted the elderly. The decision to remove these structures were based on this observation to aid on not only the flow of regular traffic, but also to support the flow of PTSC buses through this major road artery. Our city will benefit greatly when we all embrace a unified goal and ambition to improve our infrastructure, aesthetics, and install the cultural changes that coming generations can be assured of building a future on a solid foundation we create today. San Fernando is at the cusp of development based on the investments by several business entities and franchises in the area. Within recent times, we have had the coming of South Park, C3, Pennywise Plaza, and presently the upgrading of Gulf City, which speaks to the confidence that the business sector has in our city. I have no doubt that the two major projects of Skinner Park and the waterfront development will further transform our business landscape, creating opportunities for employment like never before. In this regard, I'd like to thank the Prime Minister and the government of Trinidad and Tobago for investing in San Fernando. Our hard work and dedication has paid off in ensuring that the city of San Fernando has been put on a path towards a better tomorrow, filled with hope and opportunity for all. This council has fulfilled its mandate of serving the citizens of San Fernando and report with pride on our achievements. We look forward to continue to serve and champion the drive towards a better San Fernando as we resume office on December the 3rd. Members, I must respond to some allegations that were made that against the San Fernando City Corporation at a public meeting held at Gopal Lands, Marabella on Monday, November the 18th, 2019. And this is what we have to say in response. The space for the San Fernando Waterfront Car Park was cleared and the foundation prepared under the last dispensation. And let me back up on this somewhat. The gentleman in question said that the San Fernando City Corporation, I want to quote an article from today's Guardian, by rough calculation, and he's speaking about, he also raised questions about the car park built by the corporation, which he claims was rented out to a friend of the administration for $10,000 a month. By my very rough calculations, and this is Mr. the Oropuch MP, Dr. Rudal Munilal, and he's saying, by my very rough calculation, the income from this car park is over $100,000 per month, and that their friend is paying the corporation $10,000 per month. Ask them who's benefiting from the corporation's huge investment, certainly not the people of San Fernando or the public. This accusation is false, and I want to debunk this by informing Mr. Munila and others out there that the space for the San Fernando Waterfront Car Park was cleared and the foundation prepared under the last dispensation. What was inherited was a space where unregulated parking was occurring with several cars being stolen. In light of these reports, the council then took the decision, this is the council of 2016-2019, to develop the space with the express intention of primarily providing additional parking for commuters using the water taxi and to alleviate parking rules of individuals at the hospital at the lowest cost possible. Due to the San Fernando City Corporation's limited resources at the time, we tendered the role of operations of the lot to private entrepreneurs, where we received 3 expressions of interest, willing to pay in the rate of one person who offers $10,000 a month, one offered $8,000, and one offered $7,500 respectively. And CEO, I'd like to clear the air on this. I know you have the documents. We can prove this because the documents submitted to us, and we went for the highest bid, which was $10,000 per month. Pursuant to this arrangement, additional infrastructural work was carried out by the successful candidate to bring the lot to an acceptable standard for public use. With a capacity of 70 vehicles at a daily rate of $25 per day, 5 days per week, this parking lot will earn $35,000 a month. This is in stark contrast with the false, misleading, and erroneous analysis given by Mr. Munilal at the UNC last meeting. But this really will be difficult and nigh impossible for the member in particular to accept. Ladies and gentlemen, what occurred there is that somebody receiving $35,000 a month to run a car park will have to pay their staff. Let's assume they're paying 4 or 5 persons who are working from 7 in the morning to 5 or 6 in the evening. We estimate that to be about $10,000 per month. So you're down to $25,000. And then $10,000 is paid to the corporation, and you have $15,000. You must consider that you also have to put in physical infrastructure and maintenance to the corporation. We think this is a reasonable arrangement made by the corporation, and $10,000 a month is $120,000 a year for the corporation, which could redound to the people of San Fernando. This is one of the many erroneous statements that was made at that meeting last night, and we will not bring ourselves to that to get into the argument at this time, because we are positive and we are about getting the job done. At this point, we have to make 2 announcements. I would like the Deputy Mayor to assist me. So I was advised by the Deputy Mayor that as this is the last meeting, members would like to, I will break protocol somewhat. Our council is to start. We'll start with Alderman Samlal. Alderman Samlal, before you stand, Alderman Samlal, let me give you the opportunity to say, although Alderman Samlal is the lone UNC representative on this team, he has been a team player, and he's still with us all the way, right? He never saw politics in his duty. He performed as a member of the council and put San Fernando first, and we must commend him. Alderman Samlal, it's unfortunate that we will not see you next term, but we certainly want to wish you all the best in all your endeavors. Please take your stand and give us your regards.
Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council. Firstly, I'd like to thank His Worship for his guidance and support for the past 3 years at this council. Also, I'd like to thank members of council, Mr. CEO, members of admin for their support and assistance over the past 3 years. This experience is one that I will always remember, and working together with each and every one of you all was indeed a pleasure. May you all continue working hard and keep up the good work to make San Fernando a better place. Thank you.
Alderman Yenring.
Your Worship, members of council, Mr. CEO, members of administration. Well, I wrote a report, but since I would like to say, I will speak from the heart here, right? Forget reports and stuff. I came into this council as a very young man, right? And I have to say thank you to Your Worship for giving the guidance and support, right? And leading on the right path. And yes, some of the approaches, we got a lot of opposition, but standing firm on righteousness always prevails, because we do have a duty, and when we do stand up and we do what is right, it becomes a part of life. As a young man, thank you for my colleagues, and Alderman Samlal, he's one of us, right? family, because I have an equation. In this team San Fernando here, in my equation, this team San Fernando equals 1. I would like to say thank you to the corporation, right? We all work in harmony, and when we look at the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, I'm sure they love how we harmonize everything. I would like to say, I guess I'll see you guys very soon. God bless. And, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Samuel, Chairperson for Public Health. Sorry, maybe I'm seeing Alderman Leona Ryan, Public Health. Councillor Arnold Sugrim from the Marabella East District.
It's indeed a pleasure, Your Worship. Mr. CEO, members of Council, members of Administration, I just want to say a simple thank you on behalf of the citizens of Marabella East, myself and my family, for the opportunity to have served in this August chamber. It's been 6 years, 2 terms, and I know that after December the 2nd, we did it twice. We'll be doing it thrice. So we're going to keep it quite simple. It's been a humbling experience. We have tried to keep it clean and honest and pure here at the San Fernando City Corporation. We have had reciprocal support from all members of administration. From the CEO goes straight down to all the workers. They have mutually benefited, and the citizens of Marabella East, their lives have been improved tremendously as a result of the work. We know that Marabella East have people who are wise, so we know that on December the 2nd they will go out early, Your Worship, say their prayers, and we will be back celebrating and be back here on December the 3rd. Thank you. God bless you.
Toke Truba, Councillor Teresa Lynch, whose father is a former councillor, is in the audience with us today.
Good morning again, Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of Council. Today I stand before you having successfully completed a full term of office. A term as a politician at just a tender age of 28, now 31, and I'm humble for this opportunity, and I wish to publicly express my gratitude to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and the political leader of the PNM, the party I belong, for selecting me as a candidate, and the electorate of Koke-Turuba for electing me as their councillor. Your Worship, Mr. CEO, I stand before you wearing the very same suit I wore in December when I was sworn in, for those that remember. As grateful that I am in these economic times that it can fit me, this suit signifies something greater, Your Worship. It signifies where we would have started, the opportunity I was blessed with to serve. It also shows that if you take care of your possessions, that it lasts the test of time. Your Worship, the relationships that was fostered inside here during this term of office will last the test of time. In fact, Your Worship, as the Councillor for the Electoral District, the relationship with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the only Ethiopian Orthodox Church that's in my electoral district, the Chachit Anand Ashram Temple, Your Worship, the Koke Government School, village councils, NGOs, and other community groups will last the test of time. As the suit stands firm, looking almost brand new, Your Worship, I stand firm, strong, and young at heart, and fully energetic, and ready for my new term of office. Your Worship, as I stand firm today, Your Worship, I also stood firm lobbying and advocating for the needs of my electoral district of Koke-Turuba. Turuba residents of Rapik Jumideen and Ria Ramnarang can now safely say that after 13 years, 21 streetlights was installed in that community, Your Worship, and members of Council. For the first time, a collaboration with the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Koke-Turuba has embarked on a social program called Reach Them to Teach Them, Your Worship. I stood firm, Your Worship, in advocating for a 23-year-old dilapidated building at Betty Street, for those that could remember, Your Worship, having attended 4 court sessions. I also stood firm, Your Worship, as we reclaim our land at the corner of Scotland Drive and Simpson Brown Terrace, Kokie. Your Worship, finally, a project that was earmarked by our late Prime Minister, our past late Prime Minister, Mr. Patrick Manning, Dallas Avenue will finally have a play park. But of course, Taruba Village will finally have a community center. Your Worship, as I stand firm, and I know Councillor Sugrim and I was talking earlier about this, my alma mater will be playing NAPS. Pleasantville will be versing NAPS this afternoon, and the students of my alma mater will now walk safely on Union Park West on the footpath that was done from Marabella Roundabout to the Manny Ramjohn Stadium, Your Worship. And as I stand here, I can list many of the projects that was done, but I will stop for now. But more so, I wish to say thank you to everyone. I wish to say thanks to Almighty God for this opportunity, because for those that are here would understand that during this term, 2 councillors would have passed. And I have to say thank you that we were here and we were able to serve a full term of office. Also, members of council, thanks for your support. Members of administration, members of admin, thank you all so much for the support that I have gotten for the past 3 years. I look forward to my other 3 years in office as we continue to get it done. Your Worship, members of council and the council for Kokie is getting the job done. Thank you. As I'm still on my feet, Your Worship, I just have something that I would like to present to you. It's actually a booklet that I did with all of my projects for the past 3 years that I wish to present to you, Your Worship, and to Mr. CEO.
Well done. Your father is smiling on the other side of the audience there, very, very proud. We move to Councillor Williams. Councillor, let me introduce you, please. I'll be kind to you, Councillor. I'll be kind to you. This councillor is one of my favorite councillors, I'll be honest with you all, because it is difficult not to like this gentleman. I will say no more. Councillor, please present. Councillor for, let's say, for East, Councillor, let's for West Laramie.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, Mr. CEO. Good day to everyone. Again, I'm Councillor Anderson Williams for Leslie West Laramie. The thanks is given to all. First of all, I'd like to thank God. Without Him, nothing is possible. I'd like to thank the political leader and our Prime Minister for the opportunity he had given me, and my constituents for voting and bringing home a PNM victory, the only victory that we know. Yes. Ms. Worship and I have a good relationship, or in fact, he was my campaign manager. What a lot of people don't know is he was a gentleman that brought me into the political arena many, many years ago. And he fostered me and grew me to become the fine young man you see today. So to give His Worship that thank you. I came from a business background. I always assisted in my community. And the 3 years that I spent with you all here, I must say I grew as a person. I grew closer to my community. In public service, it showed me the direction I want to go. My heart is embedded in public service and always will be there. So do not think that I am exiting as a form of not being in public assistance, but I am on to other things. I would always be a phone call away to each and every one here, whether it's council, administration, admin, everyone. I am there for you, and I would always want to assist the fine city of San Fernando and by extension Trinidad and Tobago. Going forward, pen and paper does not lie. The most infrastructural upgrades Leisure for West Laramie had seen under any council, and you can test this, was under our 3 years. And why I would like to push that note, it was under harsh economic times, but this council made it happen. We get much more applause for that. I have full confidence that the incoming councillor that is here, Mr. Leabash, will push forward this work. I will continue to work in cooperation. We have the next councillor for Leisure for East Superior, Mr. Riyad Hussein. Again, we push forward. A message I would like to bring across, and I would like it not to offend anyone, but just let it get to who hearts it needs to get to. His Worship, I touched a point about loyalties, and we talked about where we are in the workplace. We are a democratic society, a democratic nation, so this allows us to choose freely on who we support. I chose to be the only right party, the only progressive party, which was the PNM, but we have other members that will see otherwise. Please do not allow this to interfere when it comes to your job, in the corporation or wherever you work. Yes, you will have your loyalty, but what I would advise and beg you to do is put the people first. When it comes to the work, your loyalty is to the nation and the betterment of society. And we continue to work together. So on this note, I would like to thank each and every one here for all the support. City engineer, you always, anytime I would call you, you always offer advice, pick up the phone, the police service. We all work together. We now have newly installed parks in districts that never had parks. Where water ran in the streets, we are now newly installed drains. The entire main drive of Govey has drains. We have a beautiful roundabout that assisted with traffic congestion. Sunset Ridge and Sunset Cove has new access roads they have never had. I've lived in the area my entire life, for 29 years, yes, I'm the youngest councillor on the team, and areas that had no access has access. They thank you, each and every one, for the traffic lights and for the infrastructure upgrades that we fostered under the hardest economic time. I'd like to give me another shout out again for leading this on the next to no fun that we got things done. So, now and forevermore, love in my heart and support always, Councillor Anderson Williams for Leisure for West.
Councillor Paris from the Pleasantville.
Your Worship, members, Mr. CEO, members of Council, I must impress upon how I feel about the two previous speakers, because they remind me of where I was 9 years ago, and I have seen the growth in both of them as members of council and young politicians, and I must say that I'm very proud of the presentation made by Ms. Councillor Teresa Lynch and Councillor Anderson Williams. I have a soft spot in my heart for young people. Your Worship, on a personal note, I want to thank you, because we've served for 2 terms together, but we've served in other places together. And I'm certain that you would have seen the personal growth in me as a person. And I want to say that under your stewardship, under this last term, my background being that of business and management, I sometimes always marvel at your ability to make something out of nothing. And I really, and I know other members of council feel this way. That's why when I heard what was said at that cottage meeting in Marabella, because you know in Pleasantville, Panellyville was bigger than that cottage meeting last night. But nevertheless, what I heard said, it affected me on a personal note, but I think that you effectively said that all that needs to be said about that. You are an effective mayor. I served with 4 mayors, and I want to say, if you're not the best, you're one of the best that I have served with. As for the electoral district of Pleasantville, we will continue to do what Pleasantville does. Pleasantville gets the votes, Pleasantville gets the aldermen in this council, and Pleasantville brings victory to the PNM. And there will be no difference come December 2nd. So with those few words, Your Worship, I know people perhaps want me to say more, but really and truly, my standing here was an ode to you, because I must say that I learned. This was an opportunity this last 3 years to grow, and I believe all of us have grown following your lead, and I thank you sincerely.
Welcome. Thank you, Councillor Paris, for your... Councillor Paris, do you have any competition? Councillor, you have the campaign. You won already. All right, we now move to Councillor Wilson, read and ready.
Always. Your Worship, CEO, members of council. I stand here today a little bit sad, but more happy than sad, for having been given the opportunity to serve the community of Monrepo Navet. I must say that it was very challenging those last 3 years. I came in with a particular perception, but after I got in, I became aware of a number of other things. So I have learned, like my colleague next to me, I have learned a lot. And even though I will not be going back up for office, I intend to put what I have learned to use within my community. I have since joined the Monrepo Navet Community Council, so that tells you something. Your Worship, I want to thank you for the opportunity. You've put me to serve on 2 committees, infrastructure and sports. And I know that when you put me on infrastructure, you weren't sure whether I could handle it. But when you put me on sport, I know you knew that I could have handled it. I tried my best, I did my best with infrastructure, working alongside the city engineer and others. And city engineer, I want to thank you. Never was there a moment when I called for information or advice. Even 4 days ago, 3 days ago, I called city engineer for some advice on another matter, and he was ready, willing, and able to give the advice. So I want to publicly thank you. There are others among us who made an impact on my life. I want to say thank you today. Officer Martin, you've always been there for me, even when the record took up the car illegally in Monrepo while Sandfest was going on. I want to say thank you very much. Those people whom you helped, they continue to communicate with me, and they thank San Fernando City Corporation. CEO, I want to say a special thanks to you. I've learned a lot from you. CEO reminds me, and I wouldn't say who it is, I'll just say that he reminds me of someone within the People's National Movement, because he always has a ready smile. CEO, thank you very much. Thank you. My rest of colleagues, I want to wish all of you the best. My neighbor, Councillor Lynch, you know I will be working with you on election day. I will come out and give you my support. To the person who is going up, I thought he would have been here today, but he's not. But my support is always there for the People's National Movement. And as your worship says, red and ready, long live the PNM. Thank you.
The most senior of the team, Councillor Montano of the Marabella South Vistabella District.
Yes. Your Worship, Mr. CEO, members of council, it's a privilege to be here today and to speak to you all about my stewardship to some extent, but also to a great team that we have here today. This is a great team. We need to knock the desk for that, you know. This team is a good team, man. I will be a little political today, because I would like to first thank my political leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, the political leader of the People's National Movement, for giving me the opportunity to serve. And by extension, my San Fernando West constituency. Because without them, I wouldn't be here today. So thanks to them, I would like to say that I did have some challenges in this term. After serving in the first term and coming back in this second term, I think that it did make a difference, because I was able to gain the experiences. I was able to build a relationship with people, with the engineer, with the health, with the CEO, and that all has added up, so that things that happen. I would say if I have to look in terms of percentage of what my achievements were, I think I was able to achieve about 60% of the things I have set out to do. And that says well. And considering the limited funding that we had, things had worked out well. I'm looking forward for the full implementation of the local government reform, because that is very important for us. Right? So, in my next term, which I believe I will be here again, I'm willing to come back to continue that work that I have done so that we can achieve more for our communities. I represent the Marabella South Vista Bella electoral district. I work with the people, I get to know them better, and that for me to continue to do that, I need to be elected again. So as we say, we're ready and ready, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Councillor Joseph in the electoral district of Springvale Paradise, on your 6 days in support you today.
Your Worship the Mayor, Alderman Junior Rivelo, Mr. Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Indarjit Singh, Aldermen and councillors of this hard-working and honest 10th Council of the City of San Fernando, heads of department. I would first like to thank the political leader and the Prime Minister of the country, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, the executive of the People's National Movement, the executive of San Fernando West, for the opportunity to serve. I am not as eloquent as my other speakers. I think everyone knows I just talk straight and hit facts, but I have to set the narrative. In 2013, when that UNC-led government, UNC mayor, a UNC councillor sitting down right where all the man used to sit down, I think his name was John Mark. They did nothing for the city of San Fernando, nothing at all. And you don't have to believe me. I Googled the UNC 2013 local manifesto, page 36 and page 37. No projects for San Fernando. And that's when oil was $110 a barrel. Now, 2016, when we're averaging about $53 a barrel, this council, every member here, you can testify what they have done. Springvale Paradise, we have started from Sumat Gardens, we have fixed wide circular. The community center that they left rotten, we have done it. The homeless center, we have opened that. Lighting on Independence Avenue, we have done that. Irving Park, we've done that. Two parks, one in Lady Hills, one in Embarcadero, we have done that. Springvale Paradise have seen more growth under this term than any other time, when oil is $53 a barrel. Inflation is less than 1%. Unemployment is still at 4%. We have delivered. We have delivered for the city of San Fernando. We have delivered in Springvale Paradise. And permit me to go back to last night's Comedy Fest. Anthony Frederick called me a ghost. Anthony Frederick is the same person when he almost lost his WASA contract, came to me, and his worship and I went to WASA and begged for him. That man calling me a ghost, but this ghost has delivered, and this ghost is cutting his tail on the 2nd of December.
Council, you appeal your reject.
Yes.
You wanted to be a candidate to the PNM and refuse him.
Don't point 14 years, I just come in the area and want to go up against me. Let him bring it. Mr. Frederick talk about employment. His plan is to create a homework center in Embarcadero. Mr. Frederick, there is a homework center in Embarcadero? Yes. And he lives there and he doesn't know that. Mr. Frederick, sad. And this is what we have delivered. His worship's touch on the waterfront project, which is our billion-dollar industry over the next 5 to 10 years. San Fernando, West Springvale Paradise has to stay in the city, has to stay in the PNM control for not only my benefit, for the people of San Fernando and their children and their children's children. Ladies and gentlemen, as I say, I'm not as eloquent as my former speakers, but I thank you all for the opportunity. I thank God for the opportunity to serve for the last 2 terms, and come the 2nd of December, I will be back here for 1 more term.
Congratulations. Well done, Councillor. One of my favorite councillors. We have a love-hate relationship. Nobody could fight like me, this lady and I, but nobody could love like us. Councillor Llewellyn Smith from the Marlborough West District.
Well, my colleagues would know that I am by far the shyest councillor in here, and also the quietest.
Councillor, just take a seat for a second. Councillor, could I tell the story? No, I will tell the story. I was a candidate in 2007, and I went to Marlborough to campaign. And a young lady who was about 37 years walked up to me and said, "This is my daughter, and this is my granddaughter." And I started to do the calculation. How could a 37-year-old be showing me 3 generations of people, and the eldest is 37 years? Something wrong somewhere. I started looking at this lady. So we won the election. I said, "You see, this lady, I have to make an example of her. She has a contribution to make. You live on the line in Marlborough, and this is what you're doing, but a servant to the PNM." So I said to her, "You have to make a difference. You have to be a councillor." She said, "Me?" I said, "Yes, you." And when we lost election in 2010, I went to her and said, "A few months' time will be local government election, start preparing yourself." She said, "No, that is not true." She went to the church, I think it was a Catholic church, and kneeled down and said, "This is not true. This could never happen to me. I can't be a councillor." She has made 2 terms, and she's been one of the better councillors in San Fernando. Proceed, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. First off, I want to say thanks. I really want to say thanks to my colleagues. My colleagues have been really a family. You know, people looking from on the outside would see councillors, but what I see is a family around here. I can tell you, Juve morning, I left San Fernando, and I was by Alderman Samlal, behaving very nicely. Very nicely, let's put it that way. That is the kind of, love and camaraderie that we have. I have known Alderman, he had his father for years. His father is one of the best human beings I've ever met. But I'm really proud of Alderman Johannes. He made a change in this building with public health, much needed change. And honestly, I have a lot of respect for him. Councillor, and also I've heard so many things about my colleague, and it's amazing when I hear these things, because I tell people when I get hungry, the first person I call is Arnold Sogrim. He say, "Here now, mommy cooking this, mommy cooking that," and I just go by him and just eat. This is the kind of love that we share among ourselves. I honestly love Councillor Lynch. She has one problem. She is honestly the greediest human being I've ever met. But I love her, love her, love her. I'd miss that about her. Honestly, every day when it's 12 o'clock, I think, Councillor Lynch is eating now. That's what I'm taking away. Councillor Anderson, oh my God, Councillor Anderson is a joy. He's the one who would call every time. I come in late. Well, every time, literally. But I bring in doubles, so I bring in this. And these are the things that I'm taking away from here. Councillor Paris and I, we have fought. But at the end of the day, I mean, honestly, if you really want to go to war and you're not taking Councillor Paris with you, you're wasting the war. He is very strategic, and if he can't get you out of a hole, nobody else will get you out. He has his way. We will always quarrel. But when you're in a jam and you call him, he come in whether 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's what I'll take away from here. Councillor Wilson and I did not do very well either. However, I'm really proud of her. She came in here and the mayor, they threw so many balls at her. You're the chairman of this, and she did it. Deputy chairman of this, and every time they throw a ball at her, she never won. They say, "I'm tired, I can't make no more." She just kept going and going. I'm not sure what battery she uses, but she keeps going and going and going. Councillor Montano and Councillor Nigam, I have special love for. I heard Councillor Lynch refer to 2 councillors who would have died from not our corporation. But many persons would not know that we could have lost 2 of our councillors. And they rally and they battle and they kick cancer butt to the ground. So I know my councillors and them are survivors. Alderman, councillor, deputy mayor, so many hats. And I go way back. I didn't have a vehicle. Everything is, I need a drop here, I need a drop there, you name it. We have this love. The mayor, I want to say a special thanks to. One, I want to agree with Councillor Paris. If you are not the best mayor that passed through here, you are definitely one of the best. I look at Facebook and I see that they're showing all kind of things. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. Every time you do 5 good things, they complain about the one good thing you didn't do. And that's great. That's great. If you are existing and nobody's finding fault and nobody's complaining, it means that you're bribing people. So you have to be challenged. You have to be. And every government is only as good as its opposition. Well, in this case, we are much better than our opposition. But you will only be good if you keep getting opposition. And the only problem with the mayor is that I don't know how we can get better. That's the only thing. Because he have done so exceedingly great. And I mean this. You all need to drive up the promenade in the night. Just drive up for the Christmas season. And you don't have to go anywhere. This is our own little Christmas with the Johnny Promenade. Right? I've seen so many positive changes that the only challenge I have when you're rating somebody, you're supposed to rate them 6 and 7 to give them room to grow. I can't do that with the mayor. I can't. I've tried because sometimes we fall out like every single day. But to rate him 6 and 7 would be a lie. He gets 10 out of 10 in my book. Ladies and gentlemen, as my term comes to an end, I thank God, I thank our Prime Minister, but most of all, I really must thank the mayor because he's being honest. He literally took me off of the train line and said, listen, I'm going to make you a councillor. I had doubts. I thought I couldn't do it. A little bit too black. I feel educated enough. And he did work with me. He groomed me. And today I am leaving here, honestly, 100% better than when he brought me here. So, Your Worship, I mean, honestly, well, we wouldn't call it today, maybe tomorrow. Calling a truce now, but I want to thank you, I mean, for my personal growth and for all that you have helped me to do for the people of Marbella West. Your Worship, members of council, one love, Merry Christmas, all the best to the administration. Love you guys.
Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, members of council, CEO, members of administration. My last time in front of this microphone, and if you will permit me, Your Worship, I'd like to take a slightly different tact from my colleagues. I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to serve, and I need to thank, yes, former mayor, now minister, Senator the Honorable Kazim Hussain, who, as you did for Laverne Smith, took me out of anonymity and brought me into this chamber. To thank our Prime Minister, who I don't think he knows, but in quiet interactions with him before I became part of this horseshoe, inspired me in a way in which I think it will take a much longer time than I have now to explain. And to you, who I've often said this in public and will say it again, was one of my heroes as a teenager growing up.
Thank you.
Seeing you, I hero worshipped him. I've told him that before, and I say it again. All my colleagues and all the members of administration, my thanks to you for the 6 years that I've been here and working with you. But I want to take a moment to say thank you especially for those who voted for me in the last 3 years when I became the Councillor for Laser for East Ipero and Deputy Mayor of San Fernando. Winston Churchill is someone I love to quote all the time. There are 3 quotes especially, one of which sits on my resume that I give out to anyone and anything that asks for it, which says, you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. And there's another one that really stands out as well, which is the difference between war and politics is that in war you only die once. In politics you face many deaths. For me and for my own personal, I speak here, not representing anyone or anything else, Your Worship. Asking people to vote for me 3 years ago meant taking on a responsibility that went beyond anything else I've ever done. Having grown up in a very poor and humble home, and later on growing and married to a gentleman who grew up in an even poorer and humbler home than my own. One of the things my parents always taught me
is that everything we have, we are extremely blessed to have. And it is worth nothing, like you've often heard me say, Your Worship, education and knowledge is worth nothing if it is not shared. I took on the mantle where it's not enough just to say I tried my best. What is more important is to say that I accomplished what was necessary. And for me, this is a bittersweet goodbye. Because in asking people to vote for me, yes, for the party I represent, but for me personally, it meant almost signing a contract to say, I will meet your needs and I will exceed them. For me personally, I have not met that threshold as set by me, not by anyone else. And so I think it is only right that I step aside and give that opportunity to someone else who may be able to meet that threshold, meet those needs and exceed them. I have no doubts that the candidate for the People's National Movement, Mr. Riyad Hussain, will win this election and become the new councillor for Lazy 4 East Sapero. And it is my sincere hope that he is able to meet those needs and exceed them. I thank God for the opportunity, but especially for all the people that I have met along the way. All the lives who you do not know in word and deed, in smile and in conversation have touched mine. And I hope I continue on in any capacity in which the Divine One decides to give me, to continue to work, to continue to give back, to continue to make my parents proud. I love this city of San Fernando in a way that people take as a cliche, but I tell you honestly, I spent most of my life in this city, going to St. Paul's Anglican School. First it was Miss Dason's kindergarten at the bottom at Crossing, if those of you who remember, next door to where Massey Stores is. Then to the alma mater that His Worship and I shared, the best primary school in San Fernando, St. Paul's Anglican School, which was a co-ed school at the time. And then on to Naparima Girls High School, which I'm extremely proud. I grew up on Broadway at my grandparents' home, where I spent most of my formative years. And I have to say, I love my city, and I love this beautiful, wonderful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I hope that we can see the development of this city, that it becomes a first in every aspect that you can think of, that we bring back the beauty and the joy, that we let the rest of the country and the rest of the region and the rest of the world know what it is to be a San Fernandian, to have that pride and patriotism, to have the beauty of the surroundings. We have so much history in this little place that people don't know. We have so much beauty on a waterfront that you drive by and take a deep breath and look out in the morning, in the middle of the day and at the night. San Fernando Hill, Your Worship, you know, in this very chamber, as a little girl of 9 years old, I took part in a poetry competition. I came first in the semi-finals, and I came, I believe it was second or third to Avian Crooks at the time. And my poem was by James Lewa, called San Fernando Hill. It brings back a lot of memories. I thank you all for the opportunity. I apologize for the lengthiness of my statement, but I wish San Fernando well, and I will continue to work for the very best for her and for this country. Thank you.
I will speak on behalf of the administration.
Yes, Your Worship. Good day. To all members of the 10th San Fernando City Council, on behalf of the chief officers, the staff of the San Fernando City Corporation, we would like to thank you for giving of your time and service. You represented your citizens, your burgesses well, I must say. You made good representations on their behalf. You understood the dynamics of local government and I must say reform as well, because you were part of the transition that is taking place, the transition that we all welcome both as council as well as administration, because we see a need for it in terms of affording better representation so that when you come to meeting, you would not always be quarreling on us. But we will have the leverage, we will have the, we will have the tool to provide that, and admin is looking forward for that, Your Worship. And most importantly, you understood us, you understood the financial aspects of the corporation, you understood how monies are allocated to the corporations under the different head and how it's released to us so that we can utilize it. For those who would be returning to us, we look forward to seeing you again in the next and the new term.
Everybody.
Okay, all right, in the new term. And those who are on their way out, Your Worship, we want to wish you all the best in your endeavors. And I mean, it's open. San Fernando City Corporation is open to you because you are now part of us. And most importantly, Your Worship, it was a privilege to work with you. And again, our administration is looking forward again to working with you for the next, for the next few weeks, because I mean we have a lot to do. Life continues here, and most importantly, Your Worship, if possible, in the next term. Yes. So we want to thank you very much. And
thank you.
I also would like to thank for Your Worship for the audience that have been attending our statutory meeting, Your Worship, as well as the media. They have been very faithful to us, and we'd like to thank you all. And that's it.
And before I speak, I want to apologize to our guests in the audience because we have to wrap up this, and unfortunately we're doing this today. Let me begin by saying that I have seen 3 mayors cry in this chair, and I don't intend to cry. and you could understand why. If you spend the amount of time that you spend with people and you get to know them over a period of years, you develop, as Levin said, a type of love and appreciation for them. Although you don't demonstrate it there, and at this time when you know that you see what's happening and coming to the end of it, it is very normal to be emotional. So I've seen 3 mayors cry. I give the assurance I will not cry. This seat and being the mayor was never on my radar. I never thought about it. So having said that, it's my responsibility now to thank the political leader of the People's National Movement, Dr. General Peter Roy, for giving me this opportunity to sit here. And of course the People's National Movement. This San Fernando City Corporation have produced mayors like George Montano, who served in 1956 and 54-56, and then went on to Parliament and became a deputy leader and a heavy ruler in the People's National Movement. In 1961, we had Earl Mahabir, who served from 61 to 66. They went on to Parliament and served for 20 years. And more recently, we had our own Kazim Hussein, who served here and is now a member of Parliament and served as a senator. I did it the other way. I went to Parliament first and then came here after. So I'm not going anywhere else. It's not going to happen that way. I'm just different. You know, there's a picture on the Express where we were all heading to the nomination day, and we had our fingers up in the air. And there was a debate on radio. The mayor of San Fernando has his left hand up, everybody else has their right hand up. They didn't realize that the mayor is left-handed. The mayor is left-handed, well it is. But it tells you that I'm just different. So I'm here to do whatever as a passionate San Fernando, and I remain committed to San Fernando. I want to thank this team for giving me the support and believing in me, because I tell you, this team took risk. We took serious risk. We stood up over a 2-week period and literally transformed San Fernando over a 1-night period. People went home one day and came back, and the whole San Fernando was turned the wrong side. And for me to do that, I had to get the support of the team to say, listen, Mayor, we're behind you. Not sure it's going to happen, but we're behind you. I want to thank them for believing in me and giving me the support to make this happen. And those naysayers who said it before, it couldn't happen, are now saying, well done, it is happening, and San Fernando has changed and transformed somewhat. I would like to go back to what was said last night at the Monday Night Forum, which was very unfortunate, because one of the things was said, we spoke about the closing down of Petrotrin and the impact of the closing of Petrotrin in San Fernando. And nobody is saying that Petrotrin was costing this country $2 billion a year. Nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying that. And what it costs taxpayers, what it costs the public, and how the impact of that. I happened to be in Washington a few months ago, and I was a guest at the Ambassador Spencer Phillips' home, and he showed me a report, and you can check that as well, where the IMF the World Bank and other international agencies had an article commending the government of Trinidad and Tobago for making that bold move in shutting down Petrotrin, because it worked for and benefited the country. And if the World Bank can say that, and the IMF can say that, and other state and other international agencies can say that, then it is commendable. So it is unfortunate that people are using these things to win votes or to get support from other people. That is rather unfair, and that's unfair to Dr. Rowley and what he's doing. I want to go further and talk about. They also said, we're not doing anything in San Fernando. Every councillor stood up here and spoke about their success and what they did with limited funds. We had the least amount of money to run this corporation. And as the CEO said, we understood. At no time we had a fight in this council. At no time the council walked out, the admin walked out on us. I was here on 2 administration when the admin walked out on the council. We didn't have we had a synergy of understanding because we had to do much with little, and we did that. And I want to commend the councillors for the prudent decision that they had to make, and for the understanding and the thought, the things that they did as they went along, and ensuring that benefits were down to the people of San Fernando. So the solution to to all of these things and what was said last night, or what is wrong, that nothing is happening in San Fernando, it is local government reform is the solution. There's no other way. There is no other way. We will have an allocation of funds, and we have to wait for that funds to be approved by central government or by the Ministry of Finance. With local government reform, that will not happen. And also speaking about the streets that are not paved and these issues, what happened to property tax? What happened to property tax? All those persons are outside, those naysayers who are bashing the government, have not paid property tax in over 10 years. Trinidad and Tobago may be the only country in the world that is not paying property tax, but the government has to subsidize everything that you have, and you're complaining. We have to change that. We have to become more civil-minded and more civic-minded and more committed to the development of Trinidad and Tobago. I will say the only thing that is permanent in politics is the cause. In this regard, I want to wish my team and my young councillors all the best. I've seen them go. I'm very proud of Councillor Lynch and Councillor Williams, who may be going, but your political life is not going to end there. You're going to see something somewhere along the line. And Councillor Wilson, not this anymore. You work hard, you work very hard. Councillor Smith, my favorite councillor, I know what life would be like without you. But we'll work things out. I want to thank Alderman Samlal, the hardest working member team. As I said before, he didn't come in here as a UNC. He came here as Team San Fernando. So I want to thank you and the administration for giving us your support. We did an engineering department, public health department in making this work. This is really about San Fernando and making San Fernando a better place. And most importantly, leaving San Fernando how we met it. I want to thank you all so much for your patience also as we indulge and go through this necessary session that we had just now there. Members, we have 2 very important persons with us here, and we want to celebrate their presence and their contribution to San Fernando. I'll ask the Deputy Mayor, I'll ask Dr. Beckles to stand and come into the horseshoe, please.
Your Worship, you're going across?
Yeah, I'll follow, yeah.
Dr. Beverly Anne-Marie Beckles is a strong advocate for human rights with a focus on disability rights, youth and gender issues. She is also the Chief Executive Officer of the National Center for Persons with Disabilities, an NGO which promotes equalization of opportunity for persons with disabilities through training, information, research and consultative services. She has 37 years experience, she does not look that old, in the field of disability management and 4 decades in the NGO sector. Her advocacy work spans the national and regional levels, promoting and advancing disability issues, and she has been acknowledged for her work in the field of disability advocacy nationally, regionally, and internationally. Dr. Beckles is highly respected in her field as demonstrated by her involvement in a multiplicity of public and private endeavors. She is the Vice Chairman of the Equal Opportunity Commission of Trinidad and Tobago, the EOC, and has been part of the Commission since its inception in 2008. Her academic qualifications include a Doctor of Philosophy in Organization and Management from Capella University, Minneapolis, United States of America, and a Master's in Rehabilitation Administration from McLaren School of Business, the University of San Francisco, USA. Please note, NCPD will mark 55 years of continuous service to persons with disabilities on December 5, 2019. After 37 years at the helm of NCPD, Dr. Beckles will be retiring on December 29, 2019. She was presented with a special award by the City of San Fernando, and today His Worship is handing over the citation that goes with that award. And so I hand over to His Worship for this presentation. To the horseshoe, Dr. Rupert Indar, Sr. And although I was given a brief bio to read for Dr. Indar, Your Worship, if you will permit me, I'd like to do some ad-libbing with that. In his biography of Dr. Indar, Dr. Hamid Ghani divided his life into 8 chapters: the student, the doctor, the businessman, the banker, the horseman, and Rupert the man. I want to briefly touch, Your Worship, on his student years. Dr. Indar was a student of Grant Memorial Presbyterian School, and I had to put in this plug, and then went on to Naparima College in San Fernando, before the more better-known surgeon at the Queen's Royal College in Port of Spain. He studied in Ireland at Trinity College in Dublin, and he was admitted to the Faculty of Natural Sciences there. Thankfully for all of us here in Trinidad and Tobago, and regionally and internationally, Dr. Indar chose to go into medicine. He graduated in 1952 and was invited to join the staff at Trinity College. Later on returned to Trinidad, where he became a staff member of the San Fernando General Hospital in 1962 as a consultant surgeon, and worked there until 1989. During this time, he founded the Southern Medical Clinic, providing medical services in Trinidad and Tobago, together with his brother-in-law, the late Dr. Percival Harnarain. Theirs was a vision to improve the standard of healthcare in Trinidad and Tobago. He has been an entrepreneur all his life, and that is well known when he became chairman of the former Bank of Commerce of Trinidad and Tobago Limited. As a horseman, he served as head of the Arima Racing Commission, and he's well known for his fondness of the horses, Your Worship. He has noted that his wife Polly has been his steadfast support throughout his life, and has gone on to have 4 beautiful children, and together they are very happy being grandparents and doting on their children. 1992. 92 years old, yes. And he stands before us, 92 years old. In 2008, he received the Hummingbird Medal Gold as a national awardee, and was awarded the Key to San Fernando in 2017 for his sterling service in medicine. And at this time, Your Worship, I hand over to you as you present to him the citation that goes with the award. Ladies and gentlemen, the indomitable Dr. Rupert Indar. The resignation.
Drives from Port of Spain to San Fernando and to Remo on his own. Doesn't wear glasses, and is at his office at 7:30 in the morning, and still working every day in his office. An amazing gentleman, you know. I invited him to a function once at a concert that Clifton was having at supper, and he went to races all day. 9:30, I said, "Look, come in again." Same struggling coming through. He said he had some champagne, but he had to come. Dr. It's amazing. I don't know if we could do that. What apparatus you're using, Dr. India? Some of us here would like to know. Share it with us. 92 is a big number. And of course, his wife is just as balanced as he is. I also want to acknowledge in her absence Alderman Thomas, Maxine Thomas with us today, who was like one of the backbone and the soldier with the team, and one person was very, very reliable. We could always call on to do anything, and she was there for us. So in her absence, we want to recognize her and her contribution. Members, thank you so much for your patience for a very successful meeting today. I don't know anybody here who actually go to university who can clear. How could that be? That's fraud, you know. That's not right. Not fair. It's a question that there were two officials from the corporation with students in University of West Indies and being paid by the corporation. I have no evidence of that. That is not true. I have a son in university. He took a year off and started back to work. He's never worked in the corporation, never worked in his entire life. Councillor Sugum has a daughter in university, and she's never working. She's never worked. She's not working here. I don't know where they got that information from.
Those allegations are unfounded.
Not unfounded. Unfounded.
That was His Worship the Mayor of San Fernando, Alderman Junior Regrello.